This is the 2026 Honda HR-V Sport, and it is a subcompact crossover you should consider. Hey everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. I borrowed this HR-V from my friends at Holmes Honda in Shreveport, Louisiana. If you want to know more, check out the link in the description of the video. A big change for 2026 is the availability of Boost Blue as an exterior color, but there's one thing to note about this. If you want Boost Blue, you are going to have to go with the Sport trim level because that is the only trim level that offers this color, at least as of 2026. We're going to find our LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, and LED turn signal indicators. Now, you won't find any gloss black here on the front end. There are some advantages to that. The fact that everything holds up nicely, you don't have to worry about any rock chips or anything showing up as easily with the matte black finish that we have all over the front end, with the grille, upper grille, lower grille, everything right here in this area as well. Now you can go front wheel drive, which this model is, or if you prefer, all wheel drive is optional. In this case, we're going to have the gloss black 18-inch wheels. And as far as your safety features go, there's a lot going on here. Standard across all trim levels is Honda Sensing, and that's going to include adaptive cruise control, collision mitigation braking, lane keeping assist, road departure mitigation, and traffic jam assist. And we find gloss black as the finish on the wheels and on the mirror cap. Now these will be manually folding side view mirrors, but every other feature that I know a lot of you like is going to be here, including turn signal indicators built in. They're going to be heated, they're going to be power adjustable, and you will find your blind spot monitoring built in right there. And how about your remote for this particular model? Lock, unlock, we're gonna have remote start, and you will also find the panic button right there. Body color, door handles, and shark fin antenna. You have the rear roof spoiler here. That's a combination of a couple of colors between the gloss black finish and the Boost Blue. We'll finish things off here on the rear with the LED taillights. A nice sporty look. The HR-V and Sport logos will be found here as well. Under the hood is the naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder. It puts out 158 horsepower and 138 pounds-feet of torque. It is mated to a CVT, and depending on whose comments you read, some people will tell you it's underpowered. Some people will say it does a good job of getting down the road. Read the comments from those who maybe have a little bit more time driving these than I do. They'll be able to tell you, but in my opinion, I think it gets the job done. The window sticker tells us that you can potentially get 26 MPGs in the city, 32 highway, 28 combined, and 3.6 gallons of gas per every 100 miles driven. If you're curious about the gas tank size, it's going to be 14 gallons in capacity. And if you're curious to know how far you could potentially drive on a full tank of gas, you're looking at 364 miles in the city and 448 miles out on the highway. And to gain access to your cargo capacity, we'll open the tailgate. Now, it is not a power tailgate, but once you move it just a little bit, the dampening takes over and it opens right up. 24.4 to 55.1 cubic feet. You have the seats folded flat to maximize that. We do have our cargo area lighting here in the rear, along with a 12-volt power outlet, a little bit of space behind each fender well. And let me show you something else that's really important here. You have a spare tire located underneath the floor. And you'll find an armrest here that is reasonably sized, plenty of room there actually for the passengers to rest their arms, considering the size of the SUV. Also, a door bin right here with plenty of space and a little bit of storage space here on the rear of the seat back with the seat pocket, only on the passenger side, that's not on the driver's side, and a little bit of storage right here on the back of the center console. Other than that, that's about all there is to talk about here in this rear seating area. The rear seat backs do have a little bit of recline built into them, however, that is not adjustable. The sticker price is $29,905. You won't find power seats for the driver or the passenger, but there is one difference between these manually adjustable seats between the passenger side and the driver's side, and that is on the driver's side, you can raise and lower the height of the seat. You can't do that here on the passenger side. We will find space within the glove box for storage, and larger armrests and door bins here in the front seat area on these doors. No big surprises where that's concerned. That's a pretty common thing. Here is your upper console. No sunglass holder. A little bit surprised at that. Something that it seems like we should see in all vehicles, but it seems we're seeing it in fewer and fewer vehicles. Over here on the driver's side door, here are the window locks. When that is illuminated like that, the little light right there, that means that the windows are locked. Here's your door locks and everything for controlling your side view mirrors. One touch down, one touch up for your front windows, but you'll have to hold the buttons down for the rear. Traction control button is right there. And if you want to adjust your tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel, then drop that lever and you can do so. Here's everything for adaptive cruise control with your steering wheel mounted controls, and then you can manage the radio and everything over here, the volume, what you're listening to, voice commands, and you can use this scroll wheel right here to go through and make changes, get information, whatever you need to do. If you want to see something, you just push on that scroll wheel, then you hit the home button to the left of that to go back. Pretty nice looking modern instrument cluster, driver's display, easy to deal with. On the right-hand side of the steering column, everything for your front and rear window wipers. On the left-hand side, you'll have another multitasker over here. You can control your headlights. You can leave them on auto, but you can't leave your turn signal indicators on auto. Make sure you use those when you're driving down the road. Here's something that might make a lot of people happy. For 2026, one of the changes, this is now standard across all trim levels, is the 9-inch touchscreen. A little bit more simplified than what we've had in the past. Not that it was ever complicated, because it wasn't, but you don't have quite as much to deal with here. You will find that this is what you get no matter what trim level you buy. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can go into your settings right here. Depending on what you need to do, you can go right here. Not a ton to deal with, but like I say, that's probably a good thing for some people out there. There is the knob for controlling the radio, turning that on and off, and adjusting the volume. You'll also find the multi-view rear view camera, 3 different views with a nice bright trajectory lines, as you can see right there. You will find your single zone climate control as far as everything for your temperature, fan speed, and the direction in which the air is flowing right there. Now, you may not have power adjustable seats here in the front seat area, but they are heated. We are getting into a cooler time of the year. It's actually cooled down to where we may not be in the 90s as much for the rest of the year here in Northwest Louisiana. That's a cool down for us. Here is something else that is going to be standard as of 2026, no matter what trim level you choose to go with. The wireless charging pad. You will also find the USB ports right there and your cup holders. And here is your shifter. Now, you'll have obviously park, reverse, neutral, drive, sport, and low. And when you go all the way down into low right there, that keeps the CVT in low gear, but it gives you all of the power and torque for low traction situations. There's sport. And just to show that that is sport before somebody else says something in the comments, because I'm sure they will, here is your drive mode selector. And here are the available drive modes. You're going to start with normal. You can go to Econ, and you can also go to snow. Now, you'll notice that you don't have anything else on the screen. Sport is not there. So you don't select sport mode here. You actually select it with your shifter. Also, the power parking brake, brake hold mode, and the center console. Actually, a decent amount of space considering the size of this HR-V. And one last thing before we get out on the road for a test drive. Here is a sampling of the 6-speaker audio system. It might surprise you at how good it actually sounds for not being something that would be considered a premium audio system, but it definitely sounds nice in the HR-V. Okay, let's get out on the road for a quick test drive. And a couple of things I wanted to make sure I mentioned that I didn't mention earlier. You did see the Hill Start Assist button. You will also find a button that is not here, which is the auto stop start or idle stop. You won't find that on these HR-Vs, which I think is something that is worth the money. For those of you that can't stand having to deal with that, well, there's a nice thing that you don't have to worry about as far as this model goes. Now, getting down the road is not a problem. It actually gets up to speed just fine. No big deal. It's very easy to maneuver around people who don't know what the turn lane is for. As you can see right there, they did not get into the turn lane properly. It took forever to get there, and we're still hanging out. I always have to say something about interesting experiences on the road. But you will find a comfortable ride quality here, in addition to maybe what could be considered surprising acceleration. I haven't really pushed it very hard. I'm not in sport mode, I'm just in normal, but it gets down the road and gets up to speed just fine. And I know there's a lot of different potential driving situations that everybody can face, and so it's hard to necessarily get out and test every single situation, but I'm sure some of you can tell us down in the comments section how that works, say out on the interstate getting up to speed. Now we'll get up to speed a little bit faster here. Definitely hear the engine working, but we're getting there, and up to 45 miles per hour fairly quickly, so not a big deal, not really trying very hard. It may appear that I'm going a little faster than I am because we have a slow moving vehicle in the left-hand lane driving a little under the speed limit. But overall, it's a very enjoyable vehicle to drive. The interior is fairly roomy for a subcompact crossover. You should be able to adjust everything as far as the driver's position goes to where somebody who is really tall or not really tall at all can fit just fine with the steering wheel and the driver's seat. The seats seem to be pretty comfortable to me. Now, a long-term drive for a few hours, I can't tell you for sure because I haven't had that experience. Share that in the comments if you're somebody who does, especially with this interior, with the cloth interior. But I would imagine it's probably comfortable for the long term. But again, hard to say since I only get a few minutes in these vehicles during these test drives. Everything is easy to get to as far as the controls, and everything is very easy to learn and use. So I think it checks off a lot of boxes. The main thing I think a lot of people are going to say is there's not enough horsepower. I do seem to always believe there's always a need for more horsepower no matter what the situation is. But based on my experience here today, I'd say that for the average person buying an HRV, you shouldn't have any trouble with the amount of power and torque that this model puts out.